The interesting thing about the recording software that I use is, well, there's my pause button, and then this is my stop button. And if I accidentally push stop when I mean to push pause, which was the case in the end of part one, well, the video stopped. So then I suppose I might as well upload the video. But as it just comes out, I'm at the point where I just check it for sound, and you probably can't hear it, but the sound passes the test. And uploading videos, relatively easy. Let's do probably, we'll just call it part one. 53 minutes left. It won't take that long. It'll change. I wonder if because I'm recording it's doing that. I normally don't look at that too much. Uh, oh, there we go. 40 minutes and it's speeding up. And it'll probably be done about. I'm not going to look. Anyway, back to business in here. Back to business. Part two, I guess. I wasn't planning on doing part two, but just look at a bunch of these coins. Like, well, interesting move here on the daily, as it had a big move a couple days ago. Coming back, not quite to where it came from. Right in here, but I'd usually expect it to go down a bit further if it's going to do such. And on the single hour, I mean, look how fast these moves are. But no sign. I mean, this was a rally attempt that, and this is, yeah, even this here, I don't see the fast move yet, and I don't see this move done. So within this level of support, which is where we hit here, after that support, you have this failed break, and then there's your weakness at the 18 lows. There's your coming back to where you came from, and now you've done all this since then. So from this low, I would expect a fast move to be at least down to here. So I don't think this move is done. Quick look at Doji against Binance Coin on the 18. It's relatively new, but hey, it looks like it's trying to exit and have a nice break outside above there. EOS looks a little interesting. I've just now quickly looked at the daily and the hourly, but it's well overextended on the daily as we had multiple bottoms hit both toward multiple both that 1311 handle, then again lower at the 1244. And it really lifted off first from August the 28th lows, establishing a high at 15 and three quarters. And then it hit the low quickly thereafter that, lifting off on September the 5th at that of 13 and three quarters, and it still hasn't stopped its move. Extremely overextended, but it gets very interesting on the hour when I was looking at this because you originally hit this high here on September 14th, and then you hit a little bit nicely higher here, again barely higher, and then still it's been in that area for quite some time. There's been a lot of attempts with this exiting the 18. It did it here on September 15th. This is test number two. Even here got above it. But this looks like a nice little possibility that it can break above this resistance and just keep the run moving that we are seeing amongst the daily terms. So I'm just going to scroll some of these up and continue on. And Ethereum right now is showing like it might want to have a nice little move because it's overperforming Bitcoin nicely. Well, at least lately. I mean, it's getting its ass kicked spectacularly on the other end, but short term from this low after consolidating in here. There we can see the liftoff from the 18 average of lows and a pause day yesterday with continued gain up towards this level. Now that it's making the statement, it's basically saying it wants to go a lot higher, well past the 20 handle, you'd have to think. It's a little overextended again, where on a bullish level, maybe we have a little correction coming back to where we came from around the 17.9 or and within the 18 average band. I haven't looked at the hourly yet, but let me just take a look at it now. And we're in an interesting situation because we come up to the high at 2300 hours yesterday, and we hit it like four, five, six times. Have one good price correction starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it's recovered from then. But more importantly, it's gotten above this high, gotten above the 18 average of highs. So this thing is very live to have a good leg higher coming very soon. And a lot of these are showing good setups. Fed again, I know BNB is a bad one. That's going to help these out. But still, if you're trading BNB as a base, then it's an opportunity to increase those numbers. And when you see in here, we have the 18 rolling over, going sideways, and how it's breaking out nicely. But the hourly shows there was, well, from this, well, I guess the best way of putting it is we had this resistance break in here at about 9 o'clock in the morning yesterday, establishing a level above here. So it's been going sideways, having a lot of support at the 28.15. From this high, this is our second attempt in leaving the 18 average. If really, I guess it's sort of attempted it here at 23, but not really. Definitely attempting it here. Didn't do so, but here's another one. So one of the situations I'm looking for is in the early stages when it's leaving the 18, which is what this seems to be, and when it breaks a key resistance and to get above, we need to get above the 29 and 2/3 area. And this one here looks pretty hot. Well, that's what the ticker symbol is hot. And a lot of this congesting for the last several hours between 39.60 and 40.15, but support last few hours has been higher, but resistance the last few hours has most certainly been higher as well. The daily time frame does have an interesting picture. As we resisted this area here at the start of September, supported it most recently, and now we're seeing the excitation of the 18 average. Now I know ICX is an interesting one because I've been playing this a couple of times here and there. It's got a nice little setup here on the daily as well. A lot of resistance has been hitting in here, and had an attempt to break it on September 12th, but ultimately came back into the band. Yesterday's session getting above again, and so far today it's just pausing and holding above it right now. Do we see anything on the single hour term time frame right now? And the answer is yeah, just maybe, yeah, because this resistance hit from last night had successful support. It got up to and started to show strength at the 18 average of highs this morning at 6, and that's still what it's doing. It's showing strength at the 18 average of highs. Getting above this level of resistance again, then a fast move up to this point, but definitely one looking pretty fine right now. And there we go. Part 1 has been uploaded. And IOTA's next on the list. Is it? It's this one's looking pretty. I'm liking this one on the early stages here because you got this level of resistance in here, which it's gotten above it. But on the hourly time frame, what are we seeing here? Excitation of such. Oh, this thing to me just looks ready to go. Litecoin's been doing pretty well as also up to a 3.54. Very extended from the 18, but it's also just breaking out too because I can see on this high in here how we've had this correction. No, it didn't go the 18 lows, but it did have a few periods and it did go down a bit. But more importantly, it is breaking that level of resistance, so it'll be on other time frames showing possible signals for play. As we take a look at this on the single hour, it showed a lot of strength at the 18 average of highs from 1 o'clock in the morning all the way until what looks like, well, originally it looked like it was going to have a breakout at 8 o'clock, but it continued to show strength at the 18 average of highs, but it left the status of showing the strength there at 12 o'clock. Right now it's 14 hours and 53 minutes, almost 15 as I'm doing this. And yeah, it's no longer showing, it's breaking out. So it's barely now starting to come extended. The best buying time you might have said was starting at 352.2. Now it's 353.6. And let's move on. And I don't know, I shouldn't be pausing the tape. If I don't like it, I'll just, I'm not going to pause it anymore. Because I keep on pausing and I look at this, I'm like, yeah, I can talk about this because I see how it's leaving the 18 here. And when I see some of the duds, I can just say, yeah, nothing going on here and just show that. So no more pausing for the rest of the way. We're going to look at everything on this list all the way through. We're on Matic right now, showing a lot of strength below the 18 average of highs. I like to say below because it hasn't been getting above it, but it's just keeping this upward trend. Very nice. And all of these higher lows, a very, very nice setup. Anything showing something on the hourly? Well, yeah, huge. As we've had this big move in here that's broken out above it. Did it come to key areas where it was supposed to? Well, yeah, because it was this level of resistance. It's pierced above it, so that's even nice. So the range would have been between here and 65, 66. Well, surely didn't get to 65.6, but it has broken. It has made the statement. And this is where I can never make a guess of what's going to happen next. Do we come down to like 63, 62 change and maybe have a correction back? Or do we even continue further to the high? I don't know what the next one would be. So if I was to say, oh, what do I do now? Do I buy now? Do I try to put an order in? Do I try to do a bit of both? I really don't know what the answer to that would be. And so let's continue on. And I'm just gonna start it with the daily. So Nano, do we see anything with continuing? Yeah, look at this. We can see how it's doing a lot of nice stuff within the 18 average of highs. On the single hour though, it's having some choppy movements right now, and with this big volume in here, still little unsure. You can develop ages of resistance and support. Wait a little bit if you see that it can hold and stay above an upper area. Maybe it might look something like something worth going after. But right now, all sell-offs do look guilty until proven innocent. Until I can get below like 42.50 or so. So at the lower edge, you can say, hey, you know what? It's actually not a bad price. I'd rather buy it here because I think it's just going to break out now as it is. But yep, let's look at one. And I mean, I don't really need to see anything more there. I don't need to see anything more on Perlin. And okay, well, is this a and I could say, well, buy on the low. Well, I can see right now I don't want to because I have this support, this resistance. But I already had the low come in here, so I can see it's already back to where it came from 2 days ago. So I don't even want to look at it anymore. On this one here, we got the daily time frame. This is definitely nothing I'm looking to probably buy. Maybe there might be a short-term move because it came to this high, but I don't think the hour would show anything. No, that I would like in particular. Augur, what a nice, interesting daily time frame here. As we have this level of resistance hit and all of this stuff going on, while it's showing some strength, trending amongst the 18 average of highs like this. Again, one of these things that high risk, high reward because having price action very quickly coming into the 63 handle, giving you a 20-30% move, relatively very fast, even in an hour or three, or a day or three, even in a week or three. Although that would not be fast to take 3 weeks. But that's in play based on the setup, but it's also in play that we have a fast move come back and we're down to 42 just like that. Just because we have a great strength and it's showing and holding amongst this doesn't mean that it's going to break out and it can't have that down move. But definitely you can try to make a case, well, which one's more favored than the other. Now, a market like this, you can see the volume would be just tremendously bad. It's better than a lot of others if it's made this list, but uh, a lot of times with this, you could try to find better deals to buy and sell with, but I probably wouldn't want to play too much of those markets. Let's move on to Raven, which should look nice on the daily. It looks spectacular. Wow, does it ever look spectacular? Okay, so after this level of resistance, this is pretty obvious. That looks damn cool. And then you've had this going on. The move happened 2 days ago, a couple of days of nice consolidation, and it's just staying in amongst this high. You realize breaking out above here, all this empty space, it could easily come back down to where we came here, both bullishly and bearishly. That level comes in at about 1488, but that really does help us determine a lot of what the risk reward can be because if it comes down here, most likely it's unlikely it's going to come down here if we're breaking out now. It's not a surprise to come down to this area where it came from, if it will either. And again, do you buy now or do you wait? Well, the answer might be better on the now side in the fact of, well, I know my risk is down here, and I'm only looking at about 150 or so basis points. And 150 so basis points on the way up would be like 17 and change. And that's your conservative level for where this thing would go up to. So it gives you an interesting spectrum when you consider the risk versus the reward. We take a look at this on the single hour term time frame. This is an interesting spot. This is probably one of the things I might want to consider playing. I like how it's breaking out above the 18 average. Moving on next with the sky. Definitely nice little volatility in here as we can see some of the moves. Just what's 25 and a third down to 23 and a third. That's about 7, 8, 9%. That's not bad. On the daily chart, it's just hanging in there within the 18, band flattening out, more neutral more than anything. And it's also very interesting as well further that you have this high in here And we have this low that we can see, and you're just in the middle of it. So it's almost like no man's land type of situation more than anything when you look at it from that point of view. Theta is theta. Okay. Sometimes setups are just setups, and they just happen to be there. Well, everything that is there is always there. Remember that. Everything that is there is always there. But what's here is we've had this resistance, and we've had all of this support. A little attempt to get above the 18 here, not so great. So it's another attempt, and even a little attempt here. So it's another possible attempt. Now, is there anything stating on the short term that, hey, this is ready to go right now? Is there any type of plan we can look for? Well, this just broke out recently. And I should realize this because I've been watching this go up on Bitcoin, going from like a 12 or 1020 to 1050 against Bitcoin. So not a big surprise that this is happening. Not as much volume in here, but when the actual markets get hot, so if Theta gets hot against Bitcoin, this market will get hot against it as well. So the volume will pick up during those key element times. So that's always something to keep in note as well. Okay, let's continue on further. Let's take a look at Tron. And Tron's having a nice little breakout above this level of resistance. And it's barely gotten above it. As I talk about the three little bears as far as a move on a break, too small, too big, and just right. And quite frankly, when you look at cryptos, many of these moves just happen to be so big. So that's just big, awesome if you're looking to trade. But I look at the move here, that's just too small. So this tells me that we're not overextended if we're breaking out above the 18 average of highs. We're not late in the game. I also can see just by looking at this that the short term has had a little bit of consolidation with each of these highs and the lows as I can see as it is. So let's just take a look and see if I can clarify that on the single hour, and most certainly that is the case. As we had this level of resistance come in with a beautiful, nice price correction, and then quickly getting to the 18 like this, amazing again, how it held a higher low here. Attempt to break out higher, that failed, but it corrected. Another attempt to break through, and that just showed strength amongst the 18 in here. Another break to get really to this height. Now, all of these tests, and this looks like a good setup. So let me just remove the drawings and move on because I don't got many left. I'm on T. I've only got all this left, so there's not much left. The veterinarians or the V chain. I just think of a nice gentleman or woman in a white suit with a dog or a lizard or a cat nearby when I see this. Well, the daily chart's breaking out nicely, and it's gotten above the level of resistance after making a higher low. So here we got this and this higher low to this little level in here. This is the first day that's managed to get above it, so obviously coming back down here is definitely something it could do. It's gotten above this high, and these things can extend further. You don't know how high this gain could be. This thing could just go way off, and on the hourly time frame, this started going off at 4 o'clock. And you can see coming into this, oh, the setup wasn't a surprise. And I mean, it's not like every single time you have this exact setup with all of these exact numbers like this that's going to happen. But it's more likely what happened here happens coming off of this than a lot less ideal bullish situations. A lot of it's just choppy right at this stage going since a lot of this up and down action. I would never want to guess at this point what would be likely to happen next. Something like 2129 or something like 1920 or whatever the equivalent move on the polar opposite end would be. But yeah, that's the V chain and Wabi on the daily chart is had a nice little run, but uh, just hanging on like a thread within the 18 average of lows after its last big price correction here on September the 10th. So, am I confident that if there's a sell-off, that it's going to be small? No, because I think if it does, we're going quickly down to here. On the hourly, do I see anything worth note? Yes, I do. As I see the possibility of a failed breakdown in here. As we got by below this level of key support. And then after that, it's gotten to the highs and barely above it. Now I need to see more for me to be confident for me to make any kind of play on this. Some of the things I need to see in here One of them would be like, okay, just chop around in here. I'd like to see you establish level of resistance, but I also like to see it established a bit higher. Something like this. And then break out, do one of those sort of deals like that. But I also know on a bearish situation that this could be a lower high to this, and if I see weakness down below that, then I know there's going to be a significant move that will come. Now it seems that the general rule of thumb is the vast majority of these coins are in uptrends, and we're going to be seeing coins like Ripple and Monero and Lumen and ZEC. These are all staples, and all the staples are the ones that have been kicking ass in here. And I know another one I've been playing a lot on as well, off and on, is Monero. A couple of times I've been in and out of that, so I know it's got a pretty decent setup as well, but not for a couple or 3 days. Win. I think of Winnipeg. No, I don't. Yeah, I guess I do. WIN is Winnipeg. It's a new one on here. Nothing on the daily yet, but there's not much data in here. Single hour showing a lot of choppiness, and I want to get to is the volatility worth it? I mean, 11, 12, 1094, we're talking 12 plus 6 is 18, 1.5%, but a lot of volume. And when I say a lot of volume, I mean a lot of volume for me if I were to just try to flip back and forth, because you do multiple times a day. The idea that I'm getting is just try to flip away at all these back and forth moves because there's just so many of them. And at 2%, if I can pull 5, 6, 7, 8 plays at 2% per time, I'll do it. But that's just what I've quickly seen on that. So Lumen, these are more the staples. This has got a sweet setup on the daily because we come up to this high in here, nice little correctionary phase, the attempt on September 11th to break above it, and how yesterday and today it's been exiting the 18 average of highs. It's not quite back to, but really is. It's back to this area here. But if you're exiting, the statement is stating we're going to break this resistance and fill some more empty space. So we're talking 33, 34. There's a lot that can go up. I mean, you could be talking about, oh, way up to 44. These things have huge, major potential moving forward. So the setup here looks damn sweet. Hourly chart is extremely no, hourly chart is overextended. For it to be extremely overextended, which it's not, I need to see a big green candle. I need to see the 18 average even have a higher rate of ascent, but it is overextended. It's been above it for quite some time. It's got a good length of distance above it, and it's most certainly in need of a correction, either through that from price or time. But just because it's in need now doesn't mean it's going to happen now or even at this price point, but it definitely always happens when they have. So major overextension is like this. You see that has a big type of rally. Sort of like that. Alrighty, only 3 to go. Monero. On the hourly time frame, a little choppy, but it's all good choppy because it's making higher lows amongst the choppiness and it's making a fair share of higher highs as well. And as I've been stating, this has been looking good on the daily chart, and well, it's above this line I drew in a long time ago at 344. That's around the last, yeah, just got a nice little setup as it's broken. Just a lot of good choppy action back and forth. You can see throughout these days how it flings back and forth. But definitely a nice one there. Ripple, beautiful setup here as well, as we've gotten above this resistance here from the start of September at the 1228 handle, currently near 13. It exited the 18 average of highs on September the 13th. It is now just starting to barely become overextended amongst the 18 average of band. It is barely just broken above this level of resistance that I most certainly know is just barely above it when we take a look at this on the single hour time frame. And yeah, most certainly just it's had a lot of higher lows and higher highs. So even though it's not really overextended, it is due to fail the 18 lows at some point, and I say because 1, 2, 3, 4 times it has had a successful 18 lows. It's in dire need of a fifth one, and because it's had a nice run, I actually like the chances that the fifth correctionary move on the lows will succeed. But that being said, it's in dire need of falling below and testing some of this area. But it could do that up here and then test it down here as a possibility as well. And one more, ZEC. And on the single hour term, wow, this is interesting setup in here. Like nice excitation amongst the 18 average of highs that this is going on. Now, the daily most likely, I haven't even looked at this chart, I don't think ever. Well, maybe not ever, but when I put it up, I probably looked at it. But I really haven't looked at it with much conviction or whatever word you want to use. Well, it's in an uptrend, so nicely extended. It's this is what I might call a little late, but not late. Meaning, okay, I want to. You have this move. You don't want to buy this. You want to see how this thing holds this rally. Okay, how does it hold? We have a few days in here. Now, like I said, we've established. You got this level of resistance that you first hit. Okay, you're congesting with it. So that's the type of stuff you want to see. And now that it's breaking it, okay, well now I want to get in. But you want to see it as it's breaking these levels. So the because and then this high got upgraded in here from a few days ago. So the early stage would have been like 226, 227, 228. Now we're at 238. And the whole thing is you want to buy when you have these big rallies as low as possible with the knowledge that you have a good chance of the rally and that there isn't going to be that won't take that long to get it, and you're never going to do it when it's at the bottom unless you play a totally different strategy, which is like a I guess the Fibonacci game would be the easiest way there, but that's not what we're talking about here. So spots where you're like leaving it, and like for example, like this high here to play to this high, it was all about okay. 279 was a good price to get in. 294, but you see at 316 it was too late. That's the type of thing that I want to talk about there. Okay, part two is over. And the final part for this. Most likely, the play I'm going to make is Raven. I'm probably going to buy that. Let me just take a look at that right now. That was the one I liked the best of the bunch. Okay, so let me just. Oh, really? Okay. Now, one way of doing it is waiting for it to get it above here and maybe try to buy as it's breaking out. But as we see it here, I mean, if I'm looking to get a cheaper price, I should just be either I buy now. I mean, I'm not looking to get a cheaper price to get 1550 over 1550.65 or something. I mean, the risk is going that I mean, it could easily come down to where we came from in here. Just look at IOTA again. ICX I like too, though. Yeah, probably go this direction here. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.